Welcome to Eco Community Conversations, made possible by Earth Gives, the 501c3 impact organization working to catalyze environmental philanthropy beyond the 2% of giving that it sits at today. And we're focused on doing so through community building, through knowledge deepening and storytelling. And so we're kicking off a series of chats, and I've got Carol Manetta from Reap Goodness here with me today. I'm Rhonda, the founder of Earth Gives and the executive director of this organization. And we're working right now to scale environmental philanthropy through Earth Gives Day. It's a Giving Day platform that invites individual donors to come on and shop around and discover some amazing organizations that are doing such a diverse array of things for our environment and for the climate. And Carol is going to be one amazing, interesting example for you to learn about today. So Carol, why don't you share a little bit about you and where you're joining us from?
Well, I'm joining you from Sierra Vista, Arizona, which is a small city, but an important one in southern Arizona. I'm executive director of the nonprofit called Reap Goodness. I'm originally from Michigan, and I'm now have been a resident of Arizona for about 20 years. And Reap Goodness is the nonprofit develops training for worker cooperatives on how to function generally and also how to restore and support the environment.
Well, that's great. So we're going to jump right into some deep advice that you might have. So what is one piece of advice or wisdom in all the years that you've been spending doing this, which maybe you can get into a little bit, give us a little bit more about your background and what got you here. But what is one piece of wisdom that you might have for anyone wanting to have an impact on the environment or climate change?
Well, I would advise people to just get into the environment and look around, really look around and see it as a source of life for all beings, all yourself and all beings. And then take care of what you can so that others can be supported, just as you are supported by nature and the environment. That's the biggest piece of wisdom.
Great. So share your story. So tell us a little bit about how you came to this and how you relate to the work that you do.
Well, first of all, I have a master's degree in instructional design, which is a design, development, and testing of training, and which I did in corporate world. Okay, now I apply that differently in the nonprofit world. So working in the past with the indigenous people of Arizona really helped me to realize that this work of theirs is crucial for the survival of everyone. Now, climate change scientists and their collective reports over time showed us the way to make some changes wherever possible will have an impact, and that will collectively support all of life. With my background in instructional design, I felt my team and I could make a large difference if we created training to help clean up the waters and collect rainwater stored in tanks and on land, and also to plant food forests, both for people and for animals. They could do that easily and quickly in trios of cooperatives, working side by side, kind of like the Three Musketeers, if you will, but doing it. You know the old saying, many hands make light work. And so this is, that's the new part. That's the new part.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's kind of a little bit of our mantra at Earth Gives. It's the idea of the community coming together, many nonprofit organizations, many individual donors, and scaling the impact. So share with us if there's anything that we missed on your organization about how you got into this specific area. Like, tell us a little bit more, even maybe like, what did these, what did you say, food forests, or tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I worked, first of all, with teams from Arizona State University, a very innovative university. And these are engineering students, and that's what got me into it. They are very creative and very open to new things. They're wonderful. And they this organization was called the Engineering Projects and Community Service. And that's where Reap Goodness was a community partner. I had also been a community partner with another one where we presented in Africa. And I presented on worker-owned cooperatives leadership and also on hydroponics without electricity. They were very interested in that. But going forward from that, we worked with the indigenous people in the Navajo. The Diné people is what they are actually called. They had asked for agriculture. So that's what really got us moving in this particular direction. Not only hydroponics saving water, uses about 10% of the water of land agriculture, but also improving the land. So we were a community partner there at ASU, and we worked together with the International Society for Performance Improvement. And that's where Reap Goodness received the Community Project Award in 2019, because we're using all evidence-based practices, but in a different way. So our graduate student volunteer team emerged from that, from those organizations. They're able to work together, and they can improve landscape anywhere with training that's going to be developed in many languages for worldwide adoption very quickly. We need to do this in a hurry because of the state of the planet.
Right. Wow. That's going to be just so incredibly useful. So with all that knowledge, with all that potential to scale, tell us what would be possible if you received more support, more investment, more partnership, more engagement for Reap Goodness.
Oh, there's so much. What we're doing is so comprehensive, and nobody's done this anything quite this comprehensive, and then we're being noticed for that. And so when we talk about comprehensive, that means many things. So we're developing the training in multiple languages. We already have some translation of the original book that explains what we're doing. It's called Earth Gives. And that's been translated about 70% now into Spanish. And that was done through students, young people, I should say. They were actually past their student, some were students and some were already graduated from high school and so on, in Bolivia. And we did that through the US Embassy there in Bolivia. And so this is where you need to go forward. We're going to do this, and we're going to translate into 30 languages. I mean, that's pretty ambitious, but we'll start with the first 6 languages, the top 6 that are used in the world. And that will get us into 130 countries. But that would be possible from substantial support for hiring and retaining the best people for the job. We're also developing international training media for people in developing countries who farm and they cannot read. We're going to be doing YouTube videos, and they will also be closed captioned, and those will be in those same top 6 languages in the captioning. The last thing that we're going to be doing is really very interesting. It's a virtual reality app, because now virtual reality can go on smartphones, and with a free app on Google Play. And so in doing that, we can create training for people who are in poor countries who don't read. They've never gone to school, but they can be immersed in the transition, and it will be done in their auditory, in their own language. So this is very ambitious. So we can go forward with this beautiful plan with a lot of support from people and support from funds to support those people. Okay.
That's fantastic. So you heard it here, people. Tech meets climate action and meets people, communities of color and individuals, indigenous folks and communities all over the world. Wow, that's like from a tiny town in Arizona to an expansive reach. I love it. So give us a few interesting insights on the work that you do. Like there's always kind of like this behind the scenes, what goes on in a nonprofit. People just kind of see maybe the outcomes, or they read a message or something. And sometimes they don't know, like, oh my gosh, the hard work that you as an executive director, leader, founder have to do, or even, team members. Give us a snapshot of what something that you might do that would be interesting to just know about.
Well, our work is not new in the sense that all the physical activities, all of them, are such as rainwater harvesting on land and off roofs, the planting and planting of food forests, planting pollution mitigating plants along roadside ditches, which is not being done worldwide. And our training will help us to do that. But also what would be those mitigating the pollution in ponds and streams where wildlife will drink from. But all those have been done just not with the teams called cooperatives, and doing that side by side in cooperative agreements with each other. The training that we're developing is new, and that will help people to do the proven tasks, the physical tasks, anywhere, anytime, and in an appropriate hurry, because climate change needs that. Our work also lets people know that they can work with local indigenous people and universities to identify local wildlife, to support them with nutritious plants in their own spaces. This would be away from farming, so that they can stop the extinctions worldwide. We've just begun an association with the Bionutrient Institute to make sure that the foods grown for both people and animals are of the highest nutrition possible ongoing. Those are the ones that are going to be prioritized. That's a little bit new as well. That institute is a series of labs in the United States and in Europe, and they're growing. And they test the soil and the water to make sure that the soil, all the creatures in the soil are multiplying wonderfully, and that the foods have absolutely wonderful high nutrition. So we want to work with them for both people and animals, wild animals, and we can do that together with the universities.
So it sounds like you're not, if somebody thinks about an environmental nonprofit, they might think, oh, you're out planting trees or you're planting a trail or whatever, but you're literally sitting there writing curriculum, building partnerships, kind of doing this other kind of work. You're digging into indigenous communities, you're studying what their needs are, plants, and you're building, all kinds of just interweaving and interwoven partnerships. So that's incredible. Okay, just a couple more questions. How would you describe an earth giver?
I would say that an earth giver is a person whose generosity with time and money and love keeps the planet out of harm's way for future generations to exist and thrive and even improve its former existence. Imagine that. We're in trouble right now, but how could we improve on it the way it was before? We could do that. Since this planet's continuing to evolve, just as we all are, the earth giver is a supporter of continuance in the near and the long term. And here's where the organization Earth Gives contributes to all of life as we know it.
Wow. I don't think I could have said it better. Love the love added in there. So finally, what are your favorite resources? Where do you get your knowledge or inspiration as it pertains to this work? Because I know a lot of people are just afraid because they don't think they know enough to get started. But what would you offer up to folks? It could be other nonprofit executives as well too. So,
okay, we're looking at in terms of our resources that would be consistent. We're looking at, and we use these definitely in our references. Rainwater Harvesting for Dry Lands and Beyond is the title of volumes 1 and 2 of books by Brad Lancaster. He's here in Arizona, but he's been all over the world. We also are looking at Martin Crawford's books. He's from Southwest England, and he's a botanist, but he's had a food forest for over 30 years, been featured on National Geographic. His wonderful book called Creating a Forest Garden is the best written textbook I've seen in my life. Wow. And his illustrator does simple pen and ink. And you think, wait a minute, it's nature. How can you do that in simple pen and ink? And she has ferreted out all of the plants, presented them so interestingly and simply that anyone, including a child, would be able to recognize them. It's wonderful. There's also on YouTube, which is a fountain of information. There are video teachers. Number one is the Canadian Permaculture Legacy. That's done by an engineer who developed a food forest on his property for his family. And he takes us through a whole series of wonderful instruction, as well as all the mistakes he's made, and then videos simply on advice. And then we can see it as he's doing this. Another one, set of videos is by Andrew Millison. He's from Oregon State University. And he is a marvelous teacher to the every person. And he uses augmented reality and as well as glass screens in front of him so that you can see him as well as what he is doing as he's teaching it. And it's very simple. They're wonderful. And there's a lot, again, he's been around the world as well, just like the Canadian permaculture legacy. So those are the main ones, but there are others, too many to mention right now.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised that you're chock full of resources. So that's a lot to digest, and we thank you so much. What great insight. Thanks for joining me on the debut of the Eco Community Conversations. We're thrilled to get to know you, to have you a part of Earth Gives Day. You're part of our inaugural class, so always a celebrant and a celebrity in our eyes, and we really thank you for being a part of this, Carol.
I'm thanking you in return. It's not you're welcome. I'm thanking you. You're the one who started this. You've made a good trouble for the world.